Good afternoon, everyone. It is Thursday, March the 12th, 2020. It is currently 3:27 p.m. Central Time. Well, I'm here at Victory Baptist Church. If you're listening to me live, then you know I'm live on the air right now. If you listen to a recording, well, I did the recording live on the air from Victory Baptist Church located here in Ovalo, Texas, which I always joke is in the middle of nowhere where, well, there's some truth to that. All right. Now, I got in my car and I drove here to Victory Baptist Church because there are a lot of other things that I want to talk about. All right. I want to go back to this subject of what does it mean to abide in Christ? We talked about it last night. In our Wednesday evening service, we threw out some different theories, kind of had a conversation, a discussion, threw out a lot of questions, threw out a lot of ideas, and I want to return to that. I also want to look at a passage in the book of Psalms that I think is misinterpreted by a number of devotionals that I was looking at, and I want to for us to look at that as well. And there's just a lot of other things I would like to talk about. However, It is impossible right now. I believe it's impossible. I don't care what your podcast is about. I don't care if your podcast is about comic books, water. If you have a podcast just about water, I don't care if your podcast is about air. I don't care if your podcast is about true crime. It doesn't matter right now. It seems, at least from my perspective, and maybe my perspective is wrong, but I feel like right now, it is impossible to record a podcast, to hit go live, to hit the go live button if your podcast is live streamed, or to hit the record button on your recording software. It just seems, from my perspective, it is impossible to hit record or hit the go live button and not mention the coronavirus. It just seems like, hey, I'm going to talk about this when you know the entire world is talking about the coronavirus. It just seems counterintuitive because typically with a podcast, you want to talk about what people are talking about. You want to, yes, when the world is just continuing on in its normal everyday cycle where there's nothing significant really happening, or when I say nothing significant happening, there can be significant things happening that people aren't paying any attention to. When nothing is happening that has captured the majority of the attention of the world. All right, let's state it that way. When you are in a situation where the world and their attention is captured by one subject, by one thing, by one event, by one idea, it almost seems weird. Hey, I'm going to hit the go live button and record button, and we're not going to talk about it. We're not going to mention it. It just seems so, or at least for me, it's hard to do. So I came out here with every intention. I have my Bible here. I've got a copy of one of the devotionals that I want to look at. I've got all these ideas. I'm going to talk about this and do this. And I'm like, well, what do I do? And I literally walked into the church. And as soon as my iPad connected to the Wi-Fi, I get this notification. Dow plunges 2,300 points. Stocks in meltdown as panic selling continues. The stock market has suffered a relentless, breathtaking drop, moving deeper into bear territory. Stocks fell so fast Thursday morning that it triggered a 15-minute halt in trading for the second time this week. So the stock market is crashing. It's dropping like crazy. And you may not care about the stock market. You may not own stock, but that has impact for the lives of real people. Many of their retirement funds are connected to that. Many of their investments are connected, obviously, to how the stock market performs. It can create all kinds of economic situations that will and can affect you, even if you don't care about the stock market. And all of that is happening because of the coronavirus, COVID-19. And if you've been paying attention to the news today, it's been crazy. Obviously, I think yesterday we get the notification that the NBA basically have suspended their season. The NHL, National Hockey League, they've suspended their season. Major League Baseball, they've stopped spring training and they have postponed the opening of the baseball season. There is discussion, or at least talk, that the NCAA will just literally cancel and shut down the NCAA tournament, these are going to have major ramifications, not only in all of these sports leagues, there's going to be major financial ramifications. You got TV. These are major TV contracts. What are the TV stations going to do? You've got like ESPN Plus, where people pay a monthly fee to subscribe to get access to sports. If all the sporting events are being canceled, that has a profound impact not only on ESPN, their streaming service. It has profound impact on all the sports teams, financially, economically. I mean, this whole coronavirus thing is becoming, even I know that there's still, I was listening to the radio on the way here, and I was listening to conservative talk radio and listening to Christian radio. In both cases, they were taking phone calls, and basically I kept hearing hype, 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 hype. This is all hype. This is all hype. This is fear mongering. They're doing this to take down Trump, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm just like, at what point are people going to start taking this seriously? These multi-million-dollar sports, leagues aren't going to just say, hey, we're going to shut everything down because this is all hype and there's no real fear here. Okay, come on. I think we have to take this serious. So as I was listening to all of this, I'm like, okay, I've got to walk in and at least talk about this. I have to at least say something. So I decided I would go live now, at least mention the coronavirus situation, talk about it for a minute, offer some thoughts. I offered some thoughts, I believe, yesterday. I'll offer some more. But before we do that, let's listen to the latest news update from NPR News. And we'll make some, and I'm going to use their news broadcast because they mentioned something that I think is very relevant to, churches. Very relevant to, if you attend a church, if you're a pastor of a church, and if your church, especially if your church has an average attendance of over 200 people, I think you really want to pay attention because there's a lot of calls to stop the gathering of people over, that is a gathering of a crowd over, I think, 200 or 250. There's plenty of churches that have far more than that on a Sunday morning. Now, are they going to say churches can't meet? And then you'll have some churches saying, absolutely not. You're not going to tell us what to do. And then they're going to meet. And then what happens? This raises lots of questions for the church. So let's listen to this report and then we'll come back and talk about it.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Lakshmi Singh. The public health crisis overwhelming more than 100 countries is forcing more sudden, unnerving changes to day-to-day living for many millions around the globe. In the United States, where officials have warned the worst phase of the coronavirus pandemic has yet to come, restrictions on large gatherings are sparking a cascade of cancellations in sports, entertainment, tourism, schools, religious institutions, just to name a few. New York is the latest to take an aggressive response by banning large gatherings of 500 or more. That directly affects cultural institutions from Carnegie Hall to Lincoln Center, all of which have scrapped performances for the remainder of the month because of the COVID-19 outbreak. Reporter Jeff London says you can add Broadway theaters to the list.
Broadway is a close to $2 billion industry just in terms of yearly ticket sales, but it's really much more than that. It's the number one tourist attraction in the largest city in the United States, with thousands of businesses relying on it, from restaurants to hotels to taxicabs. With Governor Andrew Cuomo announcing there will be no gatherings with 500 or more people, it means Broadway is effectively shut down. The ban begins immediately. 6 shows were scheduled to open this month. For NPR News, I'm Jeff London in New York.
President Trump's banning travel from most of Europe where new coronavirus cases have surged. NPR's Franco Ordonez reports that during a joint appearance with the visiting Irish Prime Minister today, Trump defended his action.
President Trump says he's more concerned with saving lives than the sliding stock markets. He called the coronavirus a world problem, but said it was important to create some separation for, quote, a little bit of time from some of the more troubled areas. Trump said he hopes to lift the ban soon. In his words, once this ends.
That's NPR's Franco Ordonez. The Dow has closed down nearly 10%. At 21,200, it was down more than 2,300 points. The Federal Reserve is pumping huge sums of money into the banking system, which is feeling the strains of the pandemic. And Pierre Scott Horsley says a central bank is trying to prevent credit markets from seizing up.
The Federal Reserve Bank of New York announced it will offer $1.5 trillion in short-term loans over the next 2 days to cushion shocks to the financial system. The New York Fed says the action is designed to address highly unusual disruptions in financial markets associated with the coronavirus outbreak. The central bank is also expanding the range of Treasury securities it will buy. The announcement temporarily eased losses in the stock market, but stocks remain deep in bear market territory. The New York Fed says it acted at the direction of Fed Chairman Jerome Powell and the rate-setting committee. That committee ordered a surprise cut in interest rates last week, and additional cuts are widely expected. Scott Horsley, NPR News, Washington.
This is NPR. In Massachusetts, a judge has approved a more than $140 million class action settlement.
Okay, there you have some of the latest. And I mean, I could play report after report after report after report. And they talk about the ban of large gatherings in New York City, where I guess the it's not 250, it's 500 or 550. I don't remember the exact number, even though I just heard it because I was already thinking of other things. But you get the idea. There's got to be churches. There's churches around the country that have more than 550 people on a Sunday morning. How are churches going to respond? So let's look at this from a church perspective. Let's look at it from a theological perspective, and let's just think about this clearly. I just want to throw out a few thoughts because I can't ignore this. All right, I cannot ignore this. So let's just start with some basic principles. Are you ready? Number one, you've got to take this seriously. You've got to stop with this is all hype. This is some grand conspiracy to destroy Trump. You've got to stop with all of that nonsense, okay? Yes, will people use it politically to go after Trump? Yes, just like if this happened under a Democratic president, conservatives would use it to go after the Democratic president. It's politics as usual. Use whatever you can to go after the sitting president if they're not of your party. So yes, I hate when politics get involved. It's all nonsense, but don't just get caught up in, hey, this is a political thing. I don't need to worry about it. No, it's a global pandemic. It's a global pandemic. You need to pay attention. You need to care. You need to think about what you currently have and what do you need if major restrictions are placed on your area or this is very important, you or people in your family end up having symptoms of COVID-19 and you have to self-quarantine and you cannot leave your house. What do you have in your house? How long can you last with what you currently have in your house? Do you need to purchase some basic necessities to extend your ability to stay in a quarantine situation, self-quarantine, self-isolation for a prolonged period of time? Are you going to have people come to your house and bring you things? Not if you're possibly contagious, not if you care about the lives of other people. So you've got to take it serious. You've got to think about what you can do. I'm not saying panic. I'm not saying, start screaming, running down the street, saying the sky is falling. I'm saying thoughtful concern, all right? This is a global pandemic. It is spreading. They keep telling us, even here in the United States, that the worst is yet to come. Well, they're shutting everything down around you. Right here at where I live in the Abilene, Texas area, universities suspending classes. They're going to move them to an online situation. They are, as far as I know, at least one university here's, hey, you're not coming, you've got to get out of the dorms. You can't stay in the dorms. There are all sporting activities have been canceled, I think, by at least one school district here, maybe more. There's all kinds of things happening. Things are being shut down. Things are being canceled. Things are being suspended. You can't even keep up with everything. In fact, I'm getting news notifications right now on my iPad. I can't even keep up with everything. Literally, you can have three people with mobile devices all trying to keep track of reports and want to walk in. Hey, did you hear this? No, I didn't hear that. Wait, did you hear this? No, I didn't hear that. And you're like, this is crazy. So you've got to take it seriously. You've got to pay attention. Stop with it's all hype. Stop with that nonsense. It's a global pandemic. That's a fact. It's reached the level of a global pandemic. It's been declared a global pandemic by the World Health Organization. Let's accept that. Are people going to use it politically? Yes. Does that irritate you? Yes. Does that bother you? Yes. But that does not negate the seriousness of the situation, all right? If you are mad that liberals are going to use it to go against Trump, go argue about that somewhere else, okay? Go argue somewhere else, because that's not the point. The point is we need to be focused on the actual COVID-19, the spread of the coronavirus, this global pandemic. We need to care about that. I don't know why people want to have an argument over it's hype and it's political. Man, this is not the time. Have that argument later. Let's focus on the spread of this virus. All right. So that's number one. Let's take it seriously. Number two, very important biblical principle here. The biblical principle has always been that we think of others before ourselves. We think of others before you, even if you don't care. You're like, this whole COVID-19 is a bunch of garbage. I don't care. And also you got a cough and you've got a fever. Whatever, I can do. And you just go out wherever you want. How about you think about other people? How about if you have any symptoms that are in connection with the coronavirus, fever, cough, shortness of breath, any of the basic symptoms, could you please, even if you think this is all a hoax made up by who knows what to destroy whatever political party you care about, instead of getting caught up in all of that, how about you just say, wait a minute, if by chance I have it and I'm contagious, I don't want to, even if I don't care, even if you don't care, even if you don't care if you die, please have the consideration of your fellow man, all right? As a Christian, you are to place others before yourself. Stay away from other people. Self-isolate. Quarantine yourself. If you need be, contact medical professionals and say what they want you to do. Do they want you to be tested? If they want you to be tested, then by all means, get the test. Do what's necessary so that you know, so that even if you don't care about yourself, because you could be a carrier, don't spread it to other people. There are certain age groups, typically younger, that they're going to recover. It seems that the older population and people with underlying health problems, such as lung, heart, high blood pressure, a number of other issues, that it could be deadly to them. So don't simply think about yourself and that you're going to prove some point and you're all tough and you're manly and you're not going to give in to this, all this whining and crying and all this propaganda and all this hype. You can sit there and talk all that nonsense you want. But just remember, as a Christian, you need to think about other people. So at least take other people's lives into consideration. It may have very little impact on you. The issue is if you can spread it, you need to think about others. So, number one, let's take it serious. Number two, let's think about others before ourselves. I think that's very good. Number three, let's do this. Stay informed. Stay informed with as much authoritative sources as possible. If you have a subscription to Sirius XM satellite radio, they have a 24/7 coronavirus channel that is now currently operating, and I believe it is free even for people. If your Sirius XM subscription has expired, I think that coronavirus channel will be active on all your devices. May even be active on the Sirius XM app, even if you don't have a subscription. Listen to that. They're basically around the clock. Everything you need to know about the coronavirus. They're talking about it from a medical perspective. They're talking about, how contagious you can be, symptoms, what you should do. Listen, get that information. Listen to what the World Health Organization is saying, what the CDC is saying. Just stay informed. Where is the coronavirus at? Confirmed cases in relation to where you live. Know that for your own sake, for the sake of others, for you may have older people as Christians, I'm looking at it from a theological perspective. If you have older people in your church, and I know this is a shock, but there's a lot of older people who seem to they're incapable of using electronic devices. They don't know how to subscribe to podcasts. They don't even know what a podcast is. They don't know how to keep up with the news. And they see something somewhere on their mobile device or somewhere on the internet They don't even know how, they seem to lack the ability to determine what an authoritative source is versus what some wacko posted on, YouTube. Hey, the way to protect yourself from, to protect yourself from the coronavirus is to eat dirt. And they're like, yeah, that's the natural cure. They'll just listen to any wacky idea. Be there to help guide them through information overload and go, no. Here, that's not true. Teach them how to check and verify. Being thoughtful of others. So take it into consideration. Take it seriously. Think about others before yourself and stay informed. And the reason you stay informed, not only for yourself, but that you can help others. Stay informed. It's not difficult in 2020. If you have a mobile device, you can subscribe to hourly news alerts from NPR, ABC. Subscribe to them. As many as possible. You'll get a notification every hour, usually about 5 or 10 minutes after the top of the hour. New podcast available. Listen. You can subscribe to the Global News Podcast for BBC, the News Hour, BBC. Subscribe, Sky News Daily. You can see, I just got, what is this? I just got another notification on my mobile device. Let me look here, see if it's coronavirus. Oh, breaking. The NCAA cancels March Madness tournaments. Disneyland will close theme park for rest of month amid coronavirus fears. So I want you to hear, this is breaking news while I'm live on the air. The NCAA has canceled March Madness. Gone. Disneyland closing theme park for the rest of the month. I'm telling you, you cannot keep up with everything that's happening. And there's plenty of people who are like, all hype. And you're going to ignore it. And then all of a sudden, major restrictions are going to come to the place where you live. And then you're going to go, wait a minute, I don't have this, and I don't have this, and I don't have that. Yeah, maybe you should have taken it serious instead of being on social media mocking it. All right, take it serious. So let's go through these again. I know breaking news, but hey, that's what's wonderful things about being live. Take it serious. Number 2, think of others before yourself. Number 3, stay informed. You see how easily it was to stay informed? My iPad's just sitting here. Boom, I get a notification. Look, headline. I know what's going on. Everyone has the ability to do that. I'm always shocked about what people don't know. Oh, wait, when did that happen? I didn't hear about that. Is your mobile device broken? Oh, no, I just don't want any notification about anything happening in the world because I want to live in utter and complete ignorance. Okay, well, yeah, that's a problem. That's a problem. Because ignorance becomes the soil where misinformation and lies and deception can be planted. Ignorance is the soil where deception and wrong information and manipulation can grow. You can't do that. Fight ignorance with information, right? That's very, 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 very important, all right? So let's go through these again. Take it seriously. Think of others before yourself. Information. Be informed. Number, whatever, I'm not going to give you numbers because I'll forget the numbers. My mind and numbers don't work well together. But next, very important, when you see misinformation, speak up. Correct it. You don't have to be rude. You don't have to embarrass, but correct it. Say, no, that's not accurate. That's not accurate. Where did you get your information? Wait, where did you hear this? Could you give me said source? Is it an authoritative source? What medical authorities are agreeing with this? And please just correct it. That's looking out for your fellow man. Correct it. Correct it. Right? Next. So those are some general principles. Let's talk about church. What should churches do? Well, if your church is large, hundreds, thousands of people, you are going, depending on where your church is located, depending on what state, what city, or what county, depending on where your church is located, you're going to have to determine a lot of what your church is going to do. Now, you may not have the authority. You may just be a church member, but you can definitely contact your pastors and offer suggestions. You can, definitely speak up in a correct way. Okay, not embarrassing, not publicly, privately, correctly, humbly, with respect. You can say, hey, look, our church is located in this area. There's 25 confirmed cases of coronavirus. All these other institutions are closing down. We should possibly consider what we should do as a church. So there's going to have to be informed decisions made by churches, and the larger the church is, the more likely that services are going to have to be canceled. I think that's going to be a very great possibility. Some churches, based off their theological traditions, are really going to have to consider how they are going to participate in the Eucharist or the Lord's Supper. What do I mean by that? Well, some do the common cup, where one cup is passed around. Okay, probably not a good idea during coronavirus pandemic. Others, you'll have the situation where the priest is taking the host, right, what they refer to as the host, the bread, and place it, in the mouth or on the tongue of the person receiving it. There's someone touching the very thing that's about to be placed in your mouth. Don't know if that's such a good idea, right? What now? Do you have church but suspend the Eucharist and communion? Some theological traditions would say absolutely not. How are you going to engage it? Is there a way that you can do it to remain true to your theological situation? Many churches are going to have to really consider that. But churches are going to have to make informed decisions. And here's what I would say. There'll be some churches out there, and there'll be some Christians who are going to start talking all kinds of crazy nonsense. And they're going to be like, I'm not going to fall for this pandemic fear hype, fear-mongering. I believe in God. I trust in God. I'm not going to do that. We're going to go. We're not going to cancel anything. We're going to prove a point. And in order to quote-unquote prove a point, they put other people at risk. They put themselves at risk. And in many cases, they are the very kinds of people who are violating maybe the recommendations or restrictions that are being put in place by authority. They're going to violate that authority in order to try to prove a point, to try to prove how spiritual they are. When there's a global pandemic occurring, it's not the time for you to become all super sanctimonious to try to prove a point. It's about being smart, being thoughtful, looking out for one another. Also, this is very important. If someone in your church thinks they have the coronavirus, and definitely if they receive some kind of confirmation through testing that they do have COVID-19, you have to shut everything down. You've got to inform every member. That's only the right thing to do. You've got to do something. You've got to step up and say, hey, we've got someone in the church. They've tested positive. So everyone needs to immediately let their doctors know that there's a good chance that they've been exposed. They need to probably self-quarantine. They need to take precautions, and they need to be smart about it. Now, in smaller churches, like my church, it's going to be a lot easier to know if someone in the church is sick. It's going to be a lot easier to know, someone is sick. We're going to be able to find out immediately. And we can obviously then make a decision. And right now, we are small. We don't have a lot to worry about. We're out here in the middle of nowhere. Now, there are concerns that right now, Abilene, Texas, where I live, is a place that is facing, is I think at great risk, I think is the term being used. There's universities in Abilene, Texas that are canceling classes. There are already things that are already occurring in Abilene, Texas. Sporting events are being canceled. So I have to take that into consideration for my people. Look, here, I don't like canceling services. But churches will cancel services for everything. Picnic, fellowship meal, football games, anything. So if you're willing to cancel for non-essential things, then you can cancel for something like a global pandemic when you need to. I'm going to take it very seriously. I'm going to pay close attention. And if I feel like I need to cancel, I will cancel. But guess what I will do? I will get in my car. I will come here to an empty building. I will turn on this microphone or turn on the wireless mic, and I will preach for an hour, 2 hours, and ensure that my people are being fed the word of God. I can still do that through the the use of modern technology, and all churches can do the same thing. There's no excuse. There's no excuse. If you're like, well, we need to meet because the people need to hear the word of God, they can hear the word of God. All your pastor has to do is take 10 minutes to set up an account on, say, Spreaker, and they can go live. So there's no reason why things cannot be done to do that. So churches are going to have to think about this carefully. They're going to have to consider what they will do, what they can and can't do based off their theological traditions. Don't want them to violate, obviously, what they believe to be scriptural. And they're going to have to just use wisdom. But it's a time not to try to prove we're ultra spiritual, we trust in God, and then you put people's lives at risk. That's just a foolish thing to do. And I also think it's time for many churches. I've said this multiple times, but I'm going to say it again. I think it's time for many churches to reconsider their whole theological belief system. Because there are churches out there that believe, claim, teach, and have made all kinds of wacky claims about God doing miraculous healings, that they need to reconsider all the nonsense they've spit out of their mouths for years, and now realize that now when they're faced with reality, their theology is proven not to be effective because their theology was based off lies. And you know exactly what I'm speaking of, the charismatic world that teaches that healing is guaranteed here and now if simply we have enough faith. These churches will have so-called healing teams, so-called healing rooms, all this nonsense where they make all these claims that this person was healed, and then when you try to get verification for their stories, well, typically the verification, you won't be provided the verification, or once you investigate, you find out that it was a lie, hype, and manipulation, or someone claimed they were healed, and then you find out that they died 6 months later because they never were healed. That theology now, I wish the coronavirus would wipe it off the face of the earth. I really do. Charismatics should be embarrassed of themselves right now because they're the ones, God will heal. God guarantees healing. God guarantees healing. Yeah, okay. Well, then go stop the spread. Stop the coronavirus. Now, you haven't wiped out cancer, obviously. You haven't resurrected all the people that die day after day. I mean, all of their claims are constantly proven to be false anyway by any rational thinking person. But this is so public. This is a global spectacle that everyone is watching. Now, obviously, it's a serious situation. I'm using spectacle in the sense that it's captured everyone's attention. Everyone's talking about it. It's nonstop in the news cycle. It's impacting, your daily life. It's so public that all those crazy charismatics who claim to be faith healers and they can do this and they're apostles and they do this and they do this, where are they? Where are they? They're hiding because they know their theology, that all their claims were lies. But here's what's so mad. Once the coronavirus goes away, they'll come right back out, ripping people off, taking people's money, making false promises while people still get sick and people still die. But churches are going to have to decide how they're going to handle it. And I know, and listen, I know. There's got to be a part of some churches. There's got to be in the mind of some pastors. Wait, they're going to pass an ordinance that we can't meet because we have more than 250 people. Well, I'm not going to allow them to tell me what I can and cannot do as a church. And trust me, there is, if you know my personality, I don't like those kinds of rules in any way, shape, or form. I don't like that. I mean, for crying out loud, I hate the seatbelt law. I hate the seatbelt law with every ounce of my being. I purchased the car. I purchased the insurance. It's my car. It's my life. People can smoke cigarettes. People can ride a motorcycle. Why am I forced by law to wear a seatbelt in a car when I'm over 18? I purchased the car. I purchased the insurance, and I'm told I'm forced by law to wear a seatbelt. And then right there, someone goes flying past me on the highway in a motorcycle. Wait, what? Whoa, wait. There's someone standing on the side of the road smoking a cigarette. Wait, people can drink alcohol that kills who knows how many people each year because of all the nonsense that alcohol. Wait, you can do all of, you can skydive, you can go, surfing and in the ocean where there are sharks. But hey, we've got a law that you have to wear a seatbelt in your car that you purchased. I think that's crazy. I don't like when the law steps in. Now, it may be for my own protection. It may be for my own good, but I'm an adult. So where is my freedom? So I understand. There's a part of me that if the government says, hey, you can't meet, you have to cancel church. Ooh, there's a part of me that's going to want to say, you can't tell me what to do. I'm going to want to rise up. But we have to think about it. It's not about us. It's not about our religion. It's not about our faith. It's about the public health, public good. See, when you make medical decisions that can negatively impact the public at large, you begin violating the very biblical essence of love your neighbor, put others before yourself. And there's many Christians who have all kinds of wacky medical ideas, and those medical ideas actually put the public at risk. And they're like, well, you can't tell me what to do. Yeah, they can when your actions hurt other people. Then they can. All right. So I obviously don't want the government telling churches when and when they can't meet. That scares me to death. Don't want that. But during a time of a global pandemic, I understand that you may have to say, look, your church has that many people, you can't gather. Now, guess what? They're not stopping you from preaching. They're not stopping from you gathering electronically, because people digitally, electronically, through mobile devices and an app like Spreaker, they can all tune in and listen to the Word of God being preached. They can listen to prayers. They can you can do all kinds of things. So you can be creative, and you can be you can inform people, and you can help people and find out if people have any needs, and you can be praying for people, and you can be trying to put our faith in action by being a source of good and trying to help the community and helping the public. So I understand that churches may be very hesitant if there is a law passed or restrictions placed in their area. There may be some churches who want to fight to prove a point. We got to pick our battles carefully, right? Because then guess what? You just look like, to the world, you don't look like that you're standing for your faith. It looks like that you're reckless and that you're not following the health rules that have been put in place to protect other lives. And you're gonna get the kind of reputation. Remember the church in South Korea, right? And when I say church, I use that term loosely because that was some whacked out group that I think they believe their leader is the Messiah who can't die. Crazy whacked out church. Man, remember how the people in South Korea started turning against that church? Since the Shinjajonji Church, I think is how it's pronounced. I'm probably completely slaughtering that. Shinjajonji, I think. And that, I mean, they were wanting to go after that church and bring charges against the church for murder, because so many of their members were infected, and there was discussion that the church was not becoming forthcoming with the names of the people who were infected, and that there was a lot of things. Now, supposedly they apologized and they started working with authority, and so hopefully everything got cleared. But you don't want to hurt the name of Christ. Listen, you can think that you're taking a stand. Hey, we're going to have services and we're not going to cancel because we're going to show the world we have faith. That may be the way you perceive it, but from the outside, they may simply look at you as you're a lunatic, you're crazy, and you're putting other people's lives at risk. And you could possibly be gathering so that you infect all those people who could then infect other people. They may view you as murderers. That's not how you want to be recognized. You got to choose your fight. There's a time to take a stand when civil authority prohibits us from doing what God calls us to do. I completely agree. But then sometimes we go, wait a minute, this is not really about us. This is not an attack upon Christianity. They're stopping gatherings. Listen, they're stopping gatherings that just shut down Broadway. They passed rules to shut down concerts. So this is not an attack upon religion. This is you got to look at it from that perspective. Sometimes Christians can be ultra sensitive to a persecution complex, and we don't need to go there right now. Now, I just offered all kinds of ideas, all kinds of thoughts. I probably could have organized that a little bit better, but we've got some general principles there, and then we have to really think about it as a church. I would challenge pastors, come up with a plan. Come up with a plan. It's Thursday. What happens if Sunday you have to cancel services? Can you provide your people the preaching and teaching of God's word? Can you provide them that? Can you feed the flock? You say, well, I don't know. Well, if you don't know, contact me, newsif@yahoo.com, newsif@yahoo.com. I'll tell you how to set up a live stream within about 5 minutes. It'll cost a little bit of money, but some of the large churches, you probably have money. And I do want you to think about this. This is very important. There are some churches that are operating very close to a fine line where if they don't bring in a certain amount of money per offering, that they're going to be in a financial difficulty, very grave financial difficulty. What happens if you can't conduct services for a prolonged period of time? Your people are possibly being placed in situations where they can't go to work, and they're facing, what are you going to do financially? Does your church have a financial plan? And what is your church going to do to help the members of your church? Let's say you've got a family in your church. The husband can't go to work because of the coronavirus situation, and and he's not getting paid. Can the church step up and help that family? Do you have a plan? Do you have a food pantry where you could provide food to the people in your church? At least if you can't help them with their bills, you could. Do you have a plan? Can your church come together to ensure that everyone has essential supplies, food, and different things that they need? Do you have a plan? Do you have a plan? Do you have a plan? It's just, again, plan doesn't mean panic. Plan doesn't mean a lack of faith or filled with anxiety. It's just like, okay, what if? It's just matter. What if this was to occur? What is our plan? Many churches could take a serious financial hit, because some churches, if they don't get an offering, they're in trouble. I mean, I can't even imagine those churches with large budgets. Out here, we don't owe anything on our building. It's paid for. All right, that's great. We're good to go. All right, I think I think the only bills we have is electricity. You know, electricity is, I think, our main bill. Property taxes. I think we have some little things. Now, yes, the church makes my house payment. And if our church could not meet and we were out of offerings after a period of time, then my house payment wouldn't be made, and then I would be in trouble. Okay, so these are kinds of situations we have to think about. Now, again, not saying it's going to reach that level. I am not saying it's going to reach that level. I'm not saying that your entire congregation is going to be and placed in quarantine, or they're going to shut down your city. I'm not saying that will happen. I'm just saying, look what's going on in Italy. I think, what other country? Let me look here. I think I have the news article in front of me. It hasn't changed. Let me look here. Yeah, all kinds of notifications coming in from coronavirus news. Where is it? Norway shuts down the country. Norway shutting down the entire country. Italy is shutting down pretty much all stores, other than I think maybe I think they're keeping pharmacies open and maybe a couple of other things, but they're trying to shut down everything as well. Now, I'm not saying America's ever going to come close to that as a nation, or a very large nation, but how about individual cities? How about individual counties? How about individual states? That's what you have to be concerned about. That's what you have to be thinking about. And at least the thought has to be in your mind. And this could impact churches from a financial standpoint. They could. And churches have to be. They have to be a place where we also do everything we can to help the members. When the members are in financial situation, the church should be the place to step up and help. So, families need to be thinking about these things. Just rational, cautious, thoughtful, based off the facts, thinking. My family, we just purchased a whole lot of things to ensure that if something was to happen, we have a number of non-perishable type of food items that we could have for a very long time, not things that expire quickly. We've got water. We just purchased a whole lot of extra of everything just in case, and because if in the Abilene area we have a confirmed case we've got a couple of people in the Abilene area that are self-isolating right now. I don't know if they've received. I saw some conflicting reports. They were tested, but then they seem to describe the test more like looking at their symptoms, not an actual official test. So I don't know. I don't think they were officially tested. But if it comes back that they do have the coronavirus and they could have possibly spread it to who knows how many people in Abilene, Texas, well, then I probably don't want to be going out to eat. I probably don't want to be going to the fast food restaurant to get some food. I probably want to think about stay at home and eat. Do you have meals there that you can do that? Like just some basic thoughts. How long could you go with the current things in your house? How long could you go if you could not go to the store? If you were told to stay in place for 3 weeks, do you have enough to make it? Now, you may not have the budget that you can go buy 3 weeks worth of things because some people live from week to week, and I understand that. That's where sometimes if the church needs to help it, can the church help? There are lots of things to consider. All right, I'll stop right there. I wanted to at least come out here and at least talk about this, but this is not what I really wanted to do, so I'm going to end this live broadcast, and then we'll come. Well, yeah, I don't know if you can hear my iPad. Those are all notifications. Just keep coming in. Notification after. I cannot keep up with the coronavirus news. I literally cannot. So I just felt like I couldn't talk about anything else because it would feel like I was sticking my head in the sand and ignoring the world around me. So I wanted to at least address it. So I'll stop right there. All right. You can email me. You can email me at newsif@yahoo.com, newsif@yahoo.com. Let me know what your church is doing. I know of one church in Abilene that had a meeting today about what they're going to possibly do, how they're going to change their Lord's Supper, Eucharist celebration. So I know at least one church in Abilene, they had a staff meeting today discussing it, coming up with what they're going to possibly do, telling members that if they think they're sick, stay at home. If they think they've got coronavirus symptoms, let the church know, and that they're going to just basically be taking it day by day with the ability to cancel services at any time. Now, I don't know if that church has the ability to live stream, and that maybe that's a plan that they should come up with. But I know at least one church. I can confirm that, one church in my area. And so there's probably a lot of churches having some meetings right now. And we'll be interested to see how some of these big mega churches are going to handle this situation. So I will keep watching. But listen, I'm not, I have no desire to slide over into 24/7 coronavirus coverage. That's not the design of this podcast. But I will talk about it here and there when I can, when I feel that I need to. But it is imperative that you do stay informed. If you need help staying informed, email me. I'll send you links. I'll tell you what to subscribe to. I'll help you stay informed because you need to stay informed. Again, even if you don't care, you need to stay informed for the sake of others. And you need to make decisions that do not put other people at risk. I think that's a godly, biblical way of thinking. All right, everyone have a great day. God bless.